Coming up on this live edition of FDN News, hub renovations cause resident life changes for next school year. We have a live interview with Russ Diggets on the hub renovation. If you are watching live, feel free to comment any HU-related question for Dr. Diggets to answer on the broadcast. And for sports, a new men's basketball coach is on the horizon, and Aspen Durr on her senior season coming to a quick end. It's all coming up on FDN News. Good afternoon and welcome to this live edition of FDN News. I'm Miranda Gus, joined by Justin Ayers and Denali Kern. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we are finishing up the semester from our homes like all students have been. But we are still here to bring you campus and community news because much is happening even though we are away. Over spring break, students learned that they would not be finishing their semester on campus. Some students also received an email about the hub renovations continuing into the fall, forcing Hardy Hall to close and Baker Third to switch to a girls' floor. I talked with affected residents about the news and their plans.
A part of our community is kind of going to be gone because we would hang out. We already hang out with the cross-country girls, and then we also had our floor girls, but now it's like we're losing that second community that we had, you know.
The initial email was kind of odd. It was quick and kind of felt a little bit like a Band-Aid being ripped off, I guess, but we didn't really know it was happening. It was just like, oh, by the way, Hardy's closing, and there was a moment of like a hitch in the road. It's like, what just happened?
Reading the initial email, I didn't even realize that they were closing Hardy until our group chat was exploding with people being like, what's happening? Are they taking away Hardy next year? And people being confused about what they're going to do, how they're going to have enough room for us if we can't live there.
Yeah, I was hoping to live on Hardy Third because Hardy itself is an incredibly close-knit community, but Third is that times 5, and I really wanted to experience the Third energy. And now it's a bit different. So now I'm on Baker Third with a bunch of other Hardy girls. So we are sticking together, but it's kind of like all the Hardy girls have dispersed among the other dorms.
We're going to plan on just living there again, and we ended up moving to Meadows with a couple other cross-country girls are going to be on our floor.
When I first heard it, it was just kind of surprising, and it was one of those things where it was also close to the time where we were finding out that we weren't coming back to campus for the rest of the semester. Yeah. And then it just felt like another thing that was getting added on, and we're like, come on, this is just so in that sense, I definitely felt originally just I think more upset than I should have been. The girls got notified that Baker Third was a place that they could go to before the guys even knew that we weren't even going to have Baker Third.
So we all settled on Baker Second, which I think will be really nice because there's a lot of guys Baker Second. We already know a lot of the guys because they will up on the floor. So it'll be really cool. There's a lot of DMA guys there.
I was actually pretty happy with the way they handled it towards the end. They really did work hard to try and accommodate us.
The pandemic has caused campus leaders to delay graduation to this August, and many are wondering what the fall semester will even look like at HU. For answers to these questions and more, I'm joined by Chief Operations Officer, Dr. Russ Diggets. If you would like, go ahead and comment below this live any question you may have for Dr. Diggets, and we would like to incorporate it at the end of this interview. Dr. Diggets, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity and great work continuing FDN and all of the opportunities to communicate with our campus community.
Yes, we really appreciate you being here and talking with us today. So I'm going to go right into the questions that we have. First, we have the hub's construction was planned to start this spring semester, but many students are wondering why Hardy Hall wasn't closed at that time instead of now for this next year.
That's a great question. There are always logistical challenges when you think through moves like taking a residence hall offline or a multi-million-dollar project to renovate a student center on campus. And so when it came down to it, we had to prioritize the health and safety of our students. Once students were in place and housed in Hardy Hall for the academic year, it became a logistical challenge that created its own health and safety issues to move them to a different location, particularly in light of the pandemic. And so we didn't have the opportunity to make that move at that point in time when hub construction was scheduled and poised to start. But obviously at this point in time, as we're turning our attention to a new academic year, we do have that opportunity. For those that are familiar with our campus layout and community, and I'm assuming those that are tuning in are, Hardy Hall is located directly across a sidewalk from the hub, which is where kind of ground zero is for the renovation project and construction traffic. Additionally, we have to have a space for our construction contractors to park and their foot traffic and deliveries to take place. And so that staging area is in the parking lot immediately to the south of Hardy Hall. So in addition to the foot traffic and to the noise level, we felt like it was just the best for the safety for our student population to not have Hardy Hall as a part of things. But I believe in communications that both Dr. Coffey and Dr. Emerton have had with our students. If our schedule remains intact for the hub to be finished and reopened for the spring semester of this coming academic year, Hardy Hall residents would have the potential to move back in. So we want that experience to be there for our students because we know that's such an integral part of the HU experience overall for our students.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Yes. Shifting gears now, what are the university's graduation plans for this year?
That's a great question. Obviously, we want to place a premium on honoring our graduating seniors and those that have chosen Huntington University. We feel an inherent responsibility to make sure that we provide the best experience that we possibly can. The challenge with that, with the current circumstances of a pandemic, is how we allow that to be done in the safest possible manner for everybody involved. We have to make sure that we follow the recommendations and guidelines of our local health officials, in addition to the CDC at the federal level. And so we're monitoring that closely. We're keeping a close eye on what those recommended guidelines and parameters are. And so I can't sit here today at the beginning of May and share exactly what those plans might be, other than to say our communicated date for commencement will remain intact. For our main campus in Huntington, that has been scheduled for August 15th. And so we know that we owe it to our parents and our students that are graduating to keep that date in place so that they can mark that on their calendars. Our desire would be to have that live and physically in person if we reasonably and safely can do that. But again, we have to make safety our top priority. So if that does mean moving to more of a virtual experience to preserve that safety and health for those involved, then we will do that. So that is, again, a situation we're monitoring closely and hope to be able to communicate that with everyone soon.
Okay, yes, safety is always priority, I understand. Finally, we have another question before we look at a live question from the viewers. What are HU's plans for the fall semester?
Another great question, and one that we are closely monitoring. Similar to my response in regard to commencement, that is a rapidly evolving and changing situation in light of what we're receiving in terms of the guidance and the feedback from our health officials. It's hard for me to imagine. It seems like a lifetime for all of us, but it's really been about 6 relatively short weeks that we just first learned that this was going to alter the way we operate on a substantial level. And when we think about the evolution of best practice communications and the things that have been shared in those 6 weeks, we want to make sure that we're gathering all the information we can over the course of the next 6 to 8 weeks before students would potentially return to campus before we make a decision. We know that other universities are making decisions right now and communicating what they believe to be their final plans for their fall semester in terms of having students return physically on campus or doing more of a virtual approach or maybe even something in between with a hybrid approach. but we really want to make sure that we're intentional about that. Again, back to the theme that safety and health of our students and our campus constituents will be our top priority. But we want to make sure that we take the time to make that decision so that everybody understands that it's been done properly and with intentionality. The one thing that we are doing, we're not waiting and just seeing what happens so that we'll make a decision at random by how the wind blows us in July. We are making a decision right now to really dive into contingency and scenario planning. We have worked through some summer scenarios that we have started to communicate with some of our staff on campus. And soon we will be looking through all of the contingency possibilities for that fall semester. I think there are numerous possibilities on the table, but the one guarantee I can make is that we want to do what we can, similar to our commencement ceremony, to make that HU experience the richest and most meaningful we can for our students and those that are on our campus.
All right. Thank you for that. Yes. Okay. We do have one final question, and that's from Marshall Kern as a viewer of this live. She asks, I saw the university got some CARES funding and is sharing with students. Is the financial position of the university okay despite the current condition?
Another great question. I applaud you and the live question and your staff for putting together such meaningful questions and items for me to discuss at a time like this. The direct answer is yes. Certainly this pandemic has produced unforeseen challenges. Certainly it's produced unforeseen circumstances in regard to our revenue flow and additional expenditures when we think about ways that we need to respond to keep people safe. But I can tell you that our university feels good about our position, particularly financially. Again, it would be irresponsible for me to sit here and say we haven't experienced some hits and blows along the way. But as you know, we have chosen as a university to provide some adjustments when it comes to things like room and board to our students. We have chosen to do a clean pass-through for things through the CARES Act. And so when we look at making decisions like that, we want to do what's right. It certainly could be tempting to say, you know what, the university has had blows and a hit from this pandemic financially like everybody else has, and we're not in a position or we're not going to make the decision to pass that along to students. But at the end of the day, besides being Christ as our number one top priority, our students are our top priority, to make sure that they are well cared for, that they are attended to, and we do what is fair and right by them. And so when you look at those decisions to pass through funding and make adjustments to things that have affected their experience, we've placed a priority on that. And so, again, I have to admit we've had some challenges that have caused us to pull up our bootstraps, to rethink how we're prioritizing expenditures, how we're moving forward with projects. But as a case in point, we talked about the hub project earlier. We have another capital project with the construction of the Strauss Animal Science Education Center. Planning is continuing in the future for our Plex. A university that doesn't feel good about its future and its mission doesn't continue with plans and projects like that. So as evidence that we feel confident and good about continuing the mission of Huntington University, we forged ahead with those projects.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Digetz. We really do appreciate you coming in here and answering these questions for us today. We wish you well, and we wish other faculty and staff well as for this summertime that's coming up real fast. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and prayers are with our students as they get ready to wrap up semester and take finals, even though it's a different experience. So thank you for the opportunity.
The Broadcast Junior Project class raised more than $1,100 for Riley's Children's Hospital during their digital campaign of Foresters for Kids. The class consisted of 4 broadcast majors. They told the stories of 4 HU students who were former Riley kids. Members connected to the HU community donated to the campaign online, and the team promoted out the event through Facebook, Instagram, and a webpage. In the end, the team raised $1,162 for Riley. If you'd like to watch the stories featuring HU students impacted by Riley, check out forsterdigital.net.
back. That's it. Catch and fire. It's on the. He made it. Oh my.
Welcome to FDN Sports. I'm Justin Ayers. One of HU's athletic programs is going through some huge changes this coming school year.
A new era of basketball has begun at Huntington University. Former Nevada Director of Player Development Corey Alford has been hired as the new head men's coach. Alford brought a strong analytical approach to the Wolfpack, and he intends to use the same approach to turn the Foresters back into a powerhouse. The Foresters have struggled through the last few seasons, and they are over 10 years away from their last conference championship. However, never underestimate the value of an incoming winning mentality. After winning 2 state championships in high school, Alford made the NCAA March Madness tournament a combined 4 times between time spent at UCLA and New Mexico. He also reached the Sweet 16 back-to-back in 2014 and 2015.
But I like to play fast. We like to push the ball up tempo. It's going to be fun to watch and a fun system to play in for recruits. I'm an analytical guy. I like to make data-driven decisions, and so we are going to get a ton of three-pointers up. We're going to try to get highly efficient shots. We are going to move the ball, very unselfish play, ball movement, people movement, that sort of thing. Just really fun basketball for the fans and for the players to play in. It's going to be a good system.
The new coach is excited to form a new culture with his players while still honoring the tradition and legacy of the Platt family.
One casualty of the COVID-19 pandemic has been senior athletic seasons. We caught up with one HU athlete and spoke to her about her career's unplanned conclusion.
After about 3.5 years of preparation, senior athletes saw their final and greatest opportunity to achieve vanish before their eyes. On March 16th, NAIA CEO and President Jim Carr announced that all spring sports were canceled due to the CDC recommendation to limit the number of people in different gatherings. This announcement came days after the NCAA did the same. We spoke with senior HU track and field distance runner Aspen Durr about her thoughts on the season's abrupt end. By returning for a 5th year to compete, Durr gave herself one last shot at the NAIA Outdoor Track and Field Championships.
There are many hard parts about this situation, not gonna lie. One of them is having all of these accomplishments that I wanted to do, like be a 12-time All-American or more, or being the most decorated NAIA athlete to ever come through. There was also like the chance of having a 1500 PR and all of these other little things.
She soon realized missing out on the achievements wasn't the hardest part.
The hardest part is that I just realized I won't get to see my teammates ever again, really, or run with them ever again. So we were just like taken away from each other instantly, and it's over, and we never really got to say goodbye.
The NAIA is offering their athletes another season of eligibility for the spring, and Durr defends their decision to shut down athletics. For more, check out the full story at forresterdigital.net. For FDN News, I'm Justin Ayers.
Thank you for watching this edition of FDN News.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Forrester Digital and at Twitter at FDN_news.
Have a great summer and stay safe.